back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Welcome back to the program. Sterling Fox with Dr. Paul Zickler in studio with me here at CIL 650. We're talking your health, your lifestyle, and yes, wellness. And Dr. Zickler, you've been very patient with us tonight, walking us through the basics of lifestyle changes that people, especially us boomers, really need to be more and more aware of. And yet you've mentioned a couple of times, you talked about eliminating or reducing, dramatically reducing fast foods and prepared processed foods, and being very conscious of things like sodium and sugar in our diet, and wherever possible eliminating or certainly dramatically reducing those. But you've also a couple of times said, particularly when you talked about meat, for example, you said if you're a vegetarian, good for you. You're going to have to work a little harder at making sure you get all your proper nutrition and your proteins, and that may from time to time require supplements. So talk to us about supplements and their place in this whole lifestyle adjustment, heading to a better quality of a longer life that we boomers are aiming for.
Okay, that's a big question. Certainly, you know, when you look at a person that's really eating organic greens and foods and is eating drug-free meat that's grass-fed, with regular exercise, both aerobic and resistance therapy, resistance training, may not have that same need to complement his diet. But even with that kind of person that achieves that kind of excellence in his lifestyle, there are still certain supplements that I would think necessary. Vitamin D3 would be one of them.
Okay.
And vitamin D3 has had a lot of research done upon it just recently and over the last 5 years, and there's no doubt that we as a civilization now are depleted in vitamin D3, especially in those countries like ourselves where we have a limited amount of sun for a majority part of our year.
What's interesting, you said vitamin D, and I go right back to grade school. Sunshine.
Yes,
exactly. So that's what it is then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or a lack thereof.
Right.
And so vitamin D3, especially in the 6 or 7 months where we have limited sunshine, is really important to supplement. And the amounts that are suggested in the Canada Food Guide are way too low.
Okay.
And so that's where part of that education comes into play. Where can I get credible information as to what dosage should I really need?
Mm-hmm.
And the dosage are much higher than that. It's anywhere between 4,000 to 8,000 international units every day, as opposed to the 400 to 800 that are suggested in the Canada Food Guide. That is one of the vitamins that I think you would need to do. Vitamin C is another one that we should be taking on a regular basis. And
so that glass of orange juice in the morning just doesn't
it
cover
won't
off.
Cut it, especially really bad because it's got all the sugar.
Yeah,
if we're talking
point.
about sugar,
Good
that's
point.
one of the places where we want to stop.
Right.
And then the other things that might be even necessary, even if you attain this perfect lifestyle, is the free fatty acids, especially the omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
And those are important, especially for baby boomers, because of our brain health. And they help significantly in maintaining brain health. So that's another one. And then sort of as a corollary to that is CoQ10. And again, there are lists of sort of the benefits of them, which are all listed on YesWellness if you're further interested in terms of knowing of the whole list of good. But it's primarily for a good health, brain health, GI health, and maybe in a future episode we can talk about GI health, which is now becoming a real big focus of interest in nutrition.
The whole gastrointestinal
health
file, if you will.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll make it a point to do that next time around.
Yeah.
There will be a next time, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know. So these vitamins, you said D3, C, omega-3 fatty acids, and CoQ10. Are these supplements the sorts of things that most of us should be taking, regardless of what we're up to?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And then if you are not quite as healthy as that optimal guy, then the other things to start thinking about are taking some of the antioxidants and a multivitamin. And people always ask me, and the conventional literature that you read is Yeah, multivitamins are a complete waste of time. Well, my answer to that is that, and that's the answer to that, the conventional medicine say, eat the greens, eat the vegetables, eat properly, and if you do all that, you don't need the multivitamins.
Right.
But what is forgotten is that the bulk of foods that are being grown now in our farms are in soil that have been depleted over years of not replenishing them.
Sure.
And by replenishing it is not by putting artificial fertilizer, but by composting it and regrowing it and resting it and letting it ferment.
The old fallow fields principle.
Exactly.
Right.
And so when we're looking at our foods now, and I mentioned the apples, but if you look at the vegetables, the actual amount of micronutrients are vastly less than what they were 40 years ago.
All right.
And so, even though we're doing our best and getting the best vegetables, the best things, and also another thing, I just added an addendum. If you can't afford the organic, for heaven's sakes, get the non-organic vegetables, but eat the vegetables.
Sure.
But if you can afford it, go the extra step, and you may want to sort of look at your budget in terms of food, to budget into a proper food diet. But that is really where the use of multivitamins is still, I think, necessary, and a good multivitamin that is made by a manufacturer is branded and is got good controls over what's in his product is important.
And probably not with a lot of sugar involved. Because they make multivitamins for little kids. And come on, they're going to sweeten those things up, right?
Yeah.
So grown-ups don't need that.
No.
Okay, well, you know what I'm thinking of,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but again, I guess what I wanted to come back at you was because you were saying, well, some people say these multivitamins are unnecessary. Well, there was a piece in the New York Times, and there's a survey done recently when some guy came out and said, well, this whole supplement business, $17 billion a year North Americans spend on supplements. Somebody's making an awful lot of dough. And so this guy came out in the New York Times and said, really, it was mostly unnecessary.
Yeah, and I think, again, I think we go back to that being open. The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open.
Right. Okay.
And if you're not open to looking at all the information, if you're only looking at getting this segment of information, and it doesn't matter how many specialists and these people enlist, there is really enticing, well-documented, well-researched, and information given by very credible people that gives you an extra perspective on sort of the whole topic together.
And I would suggest that perhaps you've talked about our love of the internet and our need for information and our need to seek out sources of information that are credible and reliable and consistently so. And I guess YesWellness.com would be an awfully good place to start, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Because you have links. You link up to all sorts of other people.
Exactly. And some of the people that are on the internet are very credible. One of them comes to mind is Chris Kresser. He has got a very good blog. He gives out very good information, written several books. He is sort of a paleo kind of person. Paleo is a diet that really stresses sort of the diet of our ancestors, the cavemen. And there's a lot of good things about it, but there are several other aspects, and I'll make a point in sort of addressing some of those links on our website.
All right, excellent. Our guest, and you can read his blogs too at YesWellness.com. Look for his name on the website, and you'll be surprised at how many pieces he's authored on that website. Our guest is Dr. Paul Zikler. So good to see you again. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Sterling. It was a pleasure.
And you've already got me well-tuned, I might add, for our next encounter in a few weeks' time.
Great.
That's it for tonight. We'll see you next time right here on Boomer Life.